Hey everyone, this is Celtic Fox here. I just wanted to go real quick, just a real short video just to kind of show what I've done for my son's build and put it all together for him. He's obviously was on deployment. He should be home after January, New Year's Day. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about the case, what's in the case, you know, what was put into it. And what we've done with it. So right off the bat, as you can see over here, we have a 280 millimeter Koolance radiator with push-pull. Air comes in from the front through and into here, into this chamber. It doesn't go all the way to the side panel, so some air does come this way into this chamber. There is a power supply shroud, which I'm just finishing up today. That covers the Seasonic 1050 watt power supply. This fan here is a 120 bit Bitfenix Spectre Pro red fan at 100% full speed. It is controlled by the touch fan controller in the front, but the air basically blows up onto the passive cooling of this water block, which is housing a R9 280 XFX graphics card. It's a full water block by Alpacool. It has a water block for the GPU, but also a passive heatsink on the bottom and a passive heatsink on the top. From what you can see here, up here in this area, the reservoir by again Coolant is here. It's not a very big reservoir. It only actually comes to about right here where my finger is. So it's a very short reservoir, and I had to get 40 millimeter extensions for it to reach the rest of the back of the bay, so that I could put the hosing, as you see here, there's 3 hoses here that go down that feed the loops. Now obviously this loop here comes out of the reservoir here, down to the GPU, out of the GPU, over through here, and then down into the radiator, which then comes back out of the radiator into this middle tube here, and then back into the reservoir. I do have, as you can see right here, these are drainage valves. There's one on either side. This one here is for, obviously, for the GPU, and the other drainage valve is on the other one, which my hand is right here. This is for the CPU, and this CPU basically comes down, goes to a drainage on the other side, then follows along to the Koolance water block on a 9590 FX processor. From there comes out and goes up to a 420 millimeter radiator by Koolance. Again, Bitfenix Spectre Pro fans here, running at about 60% at this time, because our computer is obviously on idle. Above that, because I couldn't get 25 millimeter fans on the top of the case, because the top cover was not going to accommodate that, I have 3 140 millimeter Luna 15 centimeter thick fans, so they're thinner fans, and they basically just help pull the air up and out of the case. In the rear, this here is for my LED light. So that's what this little wire is here for. This temperature thermometer thing here, you might be able to see in the camera. That gives me temperature reading for the inside of the case when the cover is closed. We have a rear exhaust fan here, 140 millimeter in the back. Custom laser cut fan grills from my friend over in Britain. That was really nice of him. It cost a little bit of money, but I think they look great in the case. We have a slot load DVD drive in the bay here. We have, like I said, the fan touch controller above the radiator. Above the reservoir here. People have asked me how I fill the reservoir after I've bled the system for maintenance. There are 2 plugs on the inside of on the outside of the reservoir that you can undo and basically tip the case 45 degrees or so up, and you can fill it that way. And so this is pretty much what I've done. I have an SSD over here. It's a Kingston Savage 240 gig SSD here. Underneath here, located along this wall, is a 1 terabyte Weston Digital hard drive. Going to be swapped out for a 4 terabyte Weston Digital hard drive in this location. These cables here are custom cables by NSource. They sell them for the Seasonic power supplies that I have. Those cost me approximately $40 for the two, but their quality is top notch, absolutely excellent. They do come with their combs pre-installed on the cables, which is nice. We also have 16 gigs of AMD Gamers memory. We have a Asus Sabertooth R2.0 board here. And let's see, what else do we really have? That's pretty much it. Case is pretty quiet, as you can tell. Obviously, with the air going through the radiator, it's going to create some turbulence, so there is going to be some noise, but not enough that you'll notice it if you're wearing your gaming headset. In the back, by the I/O port, I also have modded a light that shines down through the I/O port. So at night, if he wants to plug something in, he's not fiddling around in the dark and trying to find where the USB port is to plug something in. It's lighted back there now, so he can see very clearly where all the ports are. So that was the video on this AMD build I had done for a year for my son. It took a year due to my health. Took a little bit of a down spiral for a while. But yeah, this is it. We have the 24 pin, which came in Seasonic, which is all black. The Rosewill case that I'm using, a Blackhawk Ultra case, also came with a black USB 3.0. The only thing that was really tight, and before I end the video I'll show you, is down in this corner, if you can see where my finger's pointing, the USB connector is so close to the top of this Waterblock passive backplate, it was almost impossible to get in there. Now, I could have moved the video card down one lane, down to the other 16 PCI lane down here. However, the top PCI lane is version 3.0, and then the others are 2.0. So by putting it up here, it worked out fine. The future upgrades are going to be, instead of the soft tubing like I have here with the Mayhem's blood red coolant, I'm going to be doing PTG tubing to clean this up a little bit here, so that it looks a lot nicer. Same with this here, maybe do a little different layout or something of that nature for this. Maybe a different bend or something in this area, so it's not just resting on the graphics card itself. But that's pretty much it. That's the AMD build. It's the 9590. Top rated current overclocking speed is 5.4 gigahertz at 1.5 volts. Running AIDA64 and Cinebench and Prime 95 for 30 minutes. The top temperature that we've seen is 54 degrees Celsius. I haven't seen it go any higher than that. The graphics card itself has reached around 50 degrees Celsius at one point on full load, but normally doesn't get that warm at all. On idle, it sits right around 30 degrees Celsius, both the video card and the 9590 sits around 30 degrees or just around ambient temperature. Something to also note, in the Coolant radiators on both, ouch, that's my fingers. Yep, those fans work. That's a good blooper. The radiators both have a internal thermal sensor in them that I included in the loop, so that way I could monitor the actual fluid temps in the radiators themselves, so that way I know exactly how warm the fluid is. Now, I did do one test. I turned off the fans completely, turned them all off, and just turned the system on, just for a couple of minutes at 5.4 gigahertz to see how warm things could get. And I'll tell you, the connectors here, the elbows, the hosing, everything on the CPU side, the hose was very, very, very warm. Warm to the touch where you could feel the warm liquid running through there, and it was getting heated up pretty quickly. So the fans are actually doing their job through the radiator and keeping the coolant cool. With the fans turned completely off at zero, quickly the fluid in the tubing heats up very quickly, and it's very noticeable. So I know that the temperature probe that was in there when the fans were off, you know, the temperature went from a cool 30 degrees Celsius and jumped up within, you know, less than 5 minutes, jumped up to almost 60 degrees Celsius. At which time the computer obviously shut itself down because it got to that warning temperature where it will shut itself off when it gets beyond 65 degrees Celsius. So this is my build that I did for my son Corey. He's always wanted a dream machine, and while he was in the military overseas serving our country, he's like, Dad, you know, I want you to build me this machine. I know you won the processor through the AMD giveaway in December, and that was something I kindly donated to him and said, well, you wanted a dream PC. We have a top-notch central processing unit. You know, let's start the build, and as the months go on and while you're overseas, you tell me what you want in the build. I will put it in the build. When it comes to custom water cooling, you know, I'm a noob. This is my first custom water cooling build I've ever done. People have said to always use the paper towel option when you're doing water cooling. Believe it or not, and this is hard to believe it or not, I did not use a single paper towel when pouring the liquid into the system. I knew all the fittings were tight. I felt very confident that they were all tight. They weren't going to leak, and I filled the fluid in the system. I let it run for 24 hours without the motherboard being plugged in, of course, but using a jumper on the 24 pin to run the pumps. I checked all of it, and it worked fine. There was no leaks whatsoever. I can even, you know, move the hoses around a little bit, and I'm not going to get any leaks whatsoever. So, you know, I can move the tubing around, and it's perfectly fine. So that's this build with 9590 AMD, and I hope you enjoy. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. You know what to do. So yeah, you know, thanks for watching, guys, and more future builds on the way as the new year gets here. See you later.